Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn the chapter number 1 of history, historiography developments in the West. So, in the previous year, you have studied about India after 1947. Okay, what all happened in India, how the developments happened in each and every field, whether you can tell in the medical field or education field. But in this year, you are going to study how history is going to help to build your career, how you can make your career in history. But before studying that, we have to know what is history, how to study history, how did the tradition of historiography got started. The introduction is very important. So today in this lecture I am going to divide the lecture into 4 parts. Okay, first we will study the introduction, second the tradition of historiography, third the 4 main characteristics of historiography, and the fourth one is 2 notable scholars. Okay, so in this way we are going to study in 4 parts. So you can refer your textbooks or the PDF which I gave you, the first chapter, that is historiography development in the West. Okay, so in the basically we are going to study the developments that happened in West. Okay, means Western Europe countries. How did the scholars shared their ideologies towards the historiography? That we are going to learn in this chapter. Okay, so make sure you have a pencil in your hand, at the same time you are concentrating. Okay, yes, so you can start with the chapter. Historical research, writing and studies are carried out with an objective of understanding the chronology of the past events and their interconnection. See, history cannot be studied without the proper chronology or the sequence of events. Okay, because whenever you are studying history, it has to be studied with the proper sequence of events. For example, if you are studying about the Indian struggle for independence, okay, you can't just study about the Quit India movement. Okay, first you have to start with the 1857 battle. Okay, India's first war of independence. Then you have to study about the formation of Congress in 1885. Then you will study the division in the Congress between moderates and extremists. Then Gandhiji came to India. Then he started some movements like non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement, Quit India movement. So this is the proper chronology while studying the history. Okay, and they are all interconnected. Okay, they are all interconnected, so the chronology should be interconnected. You just, after studying the first war of independence of 1857, you directly can't jump to Quit India movement. Okay, you have to follow the proper sequence. So that is why they are saying that history is the study of the proper chronology and the events. Now, what is historiography? In the simple way, the writing of such past events are known as historiography, and the person who is writing the history is known as the historian. Okay, we will look into the definitions in a brief manner. The physical and the natural sciences, the empirical method of experiments and observation is used to verify the available knowledge. So whenever you are studying science, there are laboratory method to prove, okay, whatever theory you are studying. But whenever you are studying history, okay, how you will prove it? You have to prove through the scientific method. Okay, scientific method means you need evidence, you need proof. You are to prove that the information is valid or not. So for example, if you are regarding studying the Pythagoras theorem, okay, you can prove it again and again by using different values. But in history you can't do that. You have to do with a reliable evidence, with a reliable proof. Okay, in historical research it may not be possible to use the method of laboratory experiments and observation. Why? Because we were not present in the historical time and space, and the historical events cannot be recreated. Yes, so because you were not present whenever you are studying about the past events, okay, or any historical battles, okay, but we were not present at that time, so we can't create that moment. So we need proper reliable of the particular theory of the particular document. Okay, also in history it is not possible to formulate laws that remain true irrespective of the time and space. See, for example, if I am making a law that Britishers were good people, and I am telling that this law is only right. Okay, why I am telling that this law is right? Because my concept is that Britishers developed railways. Okay, they brought education system, they brought many technologies. Okay, but at the same time, another historian is changing the law in a different manner, saying that Britishers exploited the farmers. Okay, so the law is changing in history, so you can't just tell that this law is right or this law is reliable. Okay, it can change, so you need proper reliable evidence. Okay, so how you are going to study history, how you can tell that the theory is perfect? So first thing, you need an expert. Whenever you are studying history, you need an expert. Okay, to begin, we need an expert who knows the language and script of a historical document in order to read it and understand its meaning. Okay, so basically, if you are studying if you are reading a document from medieval period which has mostly language of Arabic or Urdu, until and unless you don't know the language, you can't understand it. Okay, first you need to have the knowledge of the particular language. Okay, then only you can understand its importance and its meaning. Second thing, you need to know whether the document or that theory is authenticity or not. You have to check its authenticity. Now, what is authenticity? Authenticity means correctness, whether it is valid or not. Okay, yes, so there are certain criteria to check the authenticity. First one, the lettering style. Okay, how the letter has been written. Okay, because different authors have different methods to write. Second, author style of writing. Okay, and every author has its own writing. Okay, so we have to check the author's writing. Okay, some authors can write 2-3 books, so we have to gather that 2-3 books and check whether the writings are same or not. Third, manufacturing date. Okay, so through manufacturing date we get to know, okay, from which period it got manufactured, okay, which king wrote this. So through this date we get to know the period or the time and the type of paper. Okay, so we can get to know the quality, because the quality of paper differs from ancient, medieval or modern. It can differ. Okay, next is stamps of authority. Okay, now what is stamps of authority? Because in the earlier period, whenever they used to issue information to another kingdom, they used to put a stamp. Okay, so through this stamp you can get to know that which kingdom has issued or which king is sending to which king. So through this, all these criterias, you can get to know whether the theory or whether the research, whether the document is authentic or not. So there are certain criteria. First one I told is lettering style. Second, author style of writing. Third, manufacturing date. Fourth, type of paper. And the fifth and the last one is stamp of authority. Okay, so through all this you have to gather all these things, and then you get to know whether the information is authentic or not. So after this, there are various disciplines to study history. Okay, there are various fields to study history. Okay, so method of various disciplines are useful in historical research. For example, first one is archaeology. What is archaeology? Archaeology means studying of old objects, okay, earthen pots, fossils. Okay, second is archival science. Archival science, in the 9th standard you have studied about archives. What was archives? Archives means where government have preserved historical documents. It can be library, it can be museum. So the study of such archival documents is known as the archival science. Then comes manuscriptology. Manuscriptology means study of handwritten book. There are many handwritten book, letters. So that is known as manuscriptology. Fourth one is epigraphy. Means study of inscriptions. See, you can see this picture over here. You can see the textbook. There is a photo. It is known as epigraphy. You have to decode it, so you get to know whether what information you can gather from it. This is known as inscription. Fifth one, analysis of lettering style. You have to check whether the lettering style is from the same author or from the different author. Then comes linguistics. Linguistics means study of languages. Then numismatics. Numismatics means study of coins, because in different period different coins got emerged in different shapes, in different color. Okay, sometimes in gold, sometimes in bronze, sometimes in silver. So this is a study of coins. Then comes genealogy. Genealogy means study of lineage, means study of human evolution. Origin means study of human origin. So these are the various modern methods to study today modern historiography. So we have completed the first part, that is the introduction. Now we are coming to the second part, that is the tradition of historiography, how it got started. Okay, how it got started. So we have learned about the historical research method, critically examining the historical sources and writing the historical narrative. So whenever you are reading a document of any period, you have to examine it critically. Okay, and whenever you have done with the examining it, you have to write a narrative. Narrative means observation, means what all you find out, that is known as narrative. Okay, so the writing of such critical historical narrative is known as historiography. In the earlier I told you, the writing of any past events, okay, that is known as historiography. So the proper definition of historiography is the writing of any critical historical narrative or any observation is known as historiography, or the person who is writing is known as the historian. Okay, the historian cannot include every past event in his narrative. The inclusion and interpretation of historical events by the historian often depends on the conceptual framework adopted by him. Now every historian cannot study the entire history, because the entire history is divided into three periods, that is ancient, medieval and modern. So sometimes the historian choose any particular period in which he is interested. For example, if I want to study history of India only from 1942 to 1947, and if I have a book which has the information from 1857 to 1947, but I will look into the information only from these 5 years, 1942 to 1947, because I am doing my research only on these 5 years. So historians never include all events in his observation, in his narrative. Okay, at the same time, his style of writing is determined by that conceptual framework. Now while writing history, every historian writes through his own concept, through his own methods. Okay, everyone has its different ideologies. For example, like in the earlier example I told you that if I am telling British were good people, okay, this is my concept, this is my ideology, this is my way of thinking, this is my way of looking at them. But at the same time, the other author can look the same theory in another way. He can tell that the Britishers also exploited the Indians. So in the same way it can change. Okay, so the tradition of writing historical narrative, that is historiography, was not prevalent in the ancient societies of the world. So as you all know, in the ancient times, this type of critically examining or scientific methods were not used. So how they pass the information from one generation to another generation, how we got to know about their lifestyle, about their stories. So we will look on into it. Ancient people also felt the need of passing on the stories of the life and the valor of the ancestors to the next generation. Ancient communities all over the world used various means like cave paintings, storytelling, singing songs and ballads, etc. Now what is ballads? Ballads means poems. Okay, so the ancient communities, the ancient people used to pass the information through paintings, cave paintings, okay, through storytelling, through singing songs or ballads. If you visit any type of ancient caves like Ajanta, Ellora, you will find many paintings which depicts many kind of information. Okay, so this type of traditional method is used as a historical source for the studying of the modern historiography. Okay, so we are done with the second part, that is the tradition of historiography. Now we are moving into the third part, that is the modern historiography. Now there are four main characteristics of modern historiography. Okay, so the first one, its method is based on scientific principles. It begins with the formation of relevant questions. In the earlier I told you that whenever you are studying history, you need scientific principle, you need scientific method. Okay, without proper evidence, without reliable evidence, you can't just study history. Okay, you need proper evidences, and you have to ask relevant question to yourself to make that document relevant, to make that theory relevant. You have to study history in every angle. Okay, to make it whether right or wrong, you have to ask question in every angle. Okay, so you need scientific method, you need scientific principles and relevant question to study history. That is the first main characteristic. Second one, these questions are anthropocentric. Now what is anthropocentric? Anthropocentric means study of human life. Okay, apart from studying history of battles, wars, kings, you have to focus more on human life. How did human life got evolved? How did human develop themselves from one period to another period? You have to study of every deeds of human of a particular period. It means that these questions are about the deeds of the members of ancient human society of a particular period. History does not suggest any interrelation between the divine and human deeds. Now this point is very important, students. Okay, history never combine the divine and human deeds. For example, if you say that God did this miracle, you just can't prove this in history, because history believe in proper reliable evidence. Whenever you are studying history with scientific methods, first thing you have to remember that history need evidence. So you just can't tell God did this miracle or through a man God did this, that. Okay, so there is no relation between divine means God, and the human deeds. That is the second main characteristics. The third one is answer to these questions are supported by reliable evidence. Okay, so whenever you are questioning yourself and whenever you are finding answer, okay, you need to make sure that when whatever answer you are finding, you are finding with reliable evidence. Okay, every answer should have proper proof, proper evidence. Okay, without that your answer is invalid, it is useless. Okay, that is the third main characteristics. When we come to the fourth point, history presents a graph of mankind journey with the help of past human deeds. So the above 3 points, whenever you follow these 3 points, you are getting an entire graph of human history. How did human history got involved? You are getting an entire graph of humans journey from ancient period to medieval period, from medieval period to modern period. So this was the main 4 characteristics of modern historiography. Okay, so basically history is a Greek word, okay, which was used by a historian called Herodotus. Okay, in the 5th century BCE. BCE means before Christ era or before Common Era. In his book called the Histories, okay, that is mentioned in your textbook. Make sure you underline it, okay, because they can ask you in the filling in the blanks that dash is originally a Greek term. Okay, so the answer is history. Okay, so you have to underline that important terms. Okay, so we have done with the third part of the lecture, that is the 4 main characteristics of the modern historiography. Now we are going to look into the last part, that is the notable scholars. Today we are only going to see about the 2 notable scholars. Okay, one is René Descartes, another is Voltaire. Okay, so in the before 8th century CE, okay, people were not educated much. Okay, so whatever they used to believe, whatever church used to say, they never used to question the church. Okay, if the church is saying this, they used to believe it, they never used to question it. Okay, but after 8th century CE, even common people started getting education, so they got to know what is right, what is wrong, so they started raising question, so their knowledge got expanded. Okay, so they started studying the every criteria in a scientific method. They wanted a proof. If they are telling a theory, they wanted a proof whether it is right or wrong. So such notable scholars like René Descartes, Voltaire, they started studying in a expanding manner. Okay, they started studying history in a scientific manner. So we are going to study their contribution. What was their contribution towards the history? Okay, so first one is René Descartes. Okay, René Descartes was the foremost among scholars who insisted on verifying the reliability of historical documents by critically examining them. So René Descartes was of the opinion that whenever you are getting any information, first you have to make sure that that information is reliable or not. You have to examine it critically. Okay, you have to examine it with proper evidences. Okay, you have to cover all your doubts. Then only you can say, okay, that theory or that research or document is valid. So he was the first person to say that whenever you are getting information, don't just blindfoldly accept it. First go through it, examine it critically, use proper scientific methods, and then come to the conclusion. Even in his book called Discourse on the Method, please make sure you underline it. They have mentioned the book Discourse on the Method. The following is supposed to have a great impact on the scientific method of research. It's one of the main principles. He says never to accept anything for true till all grounds of doubt are excluded. So what this statement means? He says until and unless you are sure, until and unless you have covered all your doubts and you have got all the answers to your questions, don't come to the conclusion that this document or this theory is reliable or not. Once you get the proper evidences, when you get the proper answers, reliable evidences, then you can come to the conclusion. Okay. Now the second person we are talking about is Voltaire. Voltaire was from France. Okay, his original name was Francois Marie Araud. He was from French. Now what was his opinion? He opined that along with objective truth and chronology of historical events, considering social tradition, trade, economy, agriculture was also equally important in historiography. So what was his opinion? That history should not be studied only about the sequence of events, about the wars, about the battles. No, you have to cover history in every and each angle. You have to even study about tradition, you have to even study about agriculture, you have to study about trade, you have to study economy. In short, you have to study about the society, the social life of human. Okay, even that is important. Okay, it gave rise to the thought that understanding all aspects of human life. So when he shared his opinion, so people understood that human life, understanding human life is much more important. That's why it is said that Voltaire was the founder of modern historiography. Make sure you underline that. It can come in the fill in the blanks. Who was the founder of the modern historiography? The answer is Voltaire. Okay. So with this we have completed about the two notable scholars for today's lecture. So we studied the lecture into 4 parts. First was introduction, second was tradition of historiography, third one was modern historiography, 4 main characteristics of modern historiography, and the fourth one was the two notable scholars. First one is René Descartes and Voltaire. So just let us summarize about what we studied in the entire lecture today. Okay, so whenever you are studying history, make sure you are making a summary like this. Okay, see, because you have to keep this in your mind for the entire year. You are going to present, you are going to give your exams next year, so you can't study the textbook again and again. So whenever you have a summary like this, whenever you will go through this, you will have a idea what you have studied. Okay, so just I will summarize it what we have studied today. So first thing, we focused on the introduction. History is studied with chronology and all the events are interconnected. So as we saw, whenever we are studying history, all the events are, you have to study with the chronology, proper sequence of events, and all the events are interconnected. Laboratory method cannot be used while studying history because history needs scientific method. So while studying science, you can use laboratory methods, but whenever you are studying history, you need scientific methods because you have to prove yourself. In history, laws can be changed irrespective of the time. As I told you, no man can tell that this law is right. Okay, the law can be changed irrespective of the time. An expert is required to study history with proper knowledge. So if you want to study history in a proper manner, you need an expert. Okay, so what are the criterias? Okay, the expert should know whether the document is reliable, whether the document is authentic or not. So what were the criteria? First one is lettering style, then the author style of writing, then manufacturing date and type of paper, and the stamps of authority. Then came the different disciplines in which field you can study history. First one was archaeology, then archival science, then manuscriptology, epigraphy, analysis of lettering style, linguistic, numismatics, and genealogy. So this was the basic introduction of the chapter. Then we came to the tradition of historiography. So first you have to critically examine the historical sources, and then you have to write the narrative. Narrative means observation, what all you observed, okay, through the resources. Second, the writing of critical historical narrative is known as historiography. Okay, I told you the definition. In a simple way, you can define that the person who the writing of such history of past events, that is known as historiography. But if you are studying in a proper definition, the writing of critical historical narrative is known as historiography, and the person who is studying, okay, is known as the historian. All events cannot be added in narrative. As I told you, every events cannot be added in narrative because a historian chooses a particular period to study or do the research. So the tradition of historical scientific method was not prevalent in the ancient society. So in the ancient time, this type of scientific method, this type of critically examining method was not used. So what the ancient communities did, they shared the information through the cave painting, singing songs, ballads, and the storytelling. Okay, so next we move on to the 4 main characteristics, okay, of the modern historiography. First one was that all is based on the scientific principles, on the scientific method. Okay, you should have the proper evidences. Okay, you need to ask the relevant questions to yourself. Okay, second one was the questions are anthropocentric. I told you what is anthropocentric. It means the study of the human life. You have to focus on the human life, the human origin, and how did human develop himself through different periods. At the same time, the divine and the human deeds are not interlinked, because we are studying history with the proper scientific method. Then the third point, all the answers of the questions should have reliable evidence. So whatever answers you are finding to your research, you should have proper reliable evidence. And the last one was, in this way, history presents a graph about human journey. So whenever you are studying the history, you are getting to know about the mankind history, about the journey of a person. Okay. At the same time, history is a Greek term. Herodotus was the first historian to use the word in his book called Histories in the 5th century BCE. Okay. So this was the third part of the lecture. Then we studied about the two notable scholars. One was René Descartes, another was Voltaire. What did René Descartes say? He was the first person who told that you have to examine each and every document. Okay, then you have to come to the proper conclusion. In his book called Discourse on the Method, he has given proper rules and regulation how to examine the theory, how to examine the document. He says never to accept anything for true till all grounds of doubt are excluded. Until and unless all your doubts are cleared, all your questions are cleared, you can't come to the conclusion. So this was about the René Descartes. Then comes the Voltaire. His real name was Francois Marie Araud. He was from France. What was his opinion? He used to say that you don't have to study only about the chronology or the sequence of events. At the same time, you have to study about the trade, agriculture, economy. Okay, so through these, he gave the understanding of importance of human life. That's why he is known as the father of the modern historiography. So till now we have completed the 4 parts of the lesson, that is introduction, tradition of modern historiography, 4 main characteristics, and the notable scholars. In the further lecture we will move on to the next theories. So till now you just go through the lesson. Okay, read well, just don't keep on reading, make a summary of the lesson so you can understand in a very well manner. Okay, thank you class.